Hello, I'm Mark Price. I'd like to talk to you today about excuses. The gospel is from Luke chapter 7, verses 31 to 35. Jesus said to the crowds, "To what shall I compare the people of this generation? What are they like? They are like children who sit in the marketplace and call to one another. We played the flute for you, but you did not dance. We sang a dirge, but you did not weep. For John the Baptist came neither eating food nor drinking wine, and you said he was possessed by a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and you said, look, he is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is vindicated by all her children." The Gospel of the Lord. I really do like this particular reading because it says pertinent today in our world 2020 as it was 2,000 years ago. It really shines a light on people who just don't want to be happy, people who just choose to be negative all the time. Have you ever noticed that some people, doesn't matter what's going on in life, they just choose to be negative? You tell them, well, it's a beautiful day today, and they said, yeah, but we need rain. And then you say, oh, we're going to have rain tomorrow. And they say, oh, well, the windshield wipers don't work on my car, or I need a new umbrella. So whatever is happening, it's never good enough for them. They're never happy. And then on the other hand, you have people who always seem to be positive and happy. I'd like to think I'm one of those. A boy was in a room, and it was filled with horse poop. And he's all excited and he's happy and he's digging through the horse poop. And he just keeps digging and digging and digging. And somebody asked him, why are you so happy? And he said, because with all this poop, there's got to be a horse in here somewhere. So people choose to be happy or they choose not to be happy. We choose to follow God or we choose not to follow God. Jesus points out in today's gospel that the people who were following John the Baptist followed John, who was living a much more quiet, much more conservative life than did Jesus when he was preaching. John ate very little, drank not at all, and he had many, many followers, but there were many who said, I'm not going to follow John the Baptist. He's too conservative. He's too strict. He doesn't eat it. He doesn't drink. He's no fun. And then there are those, Jesus says in today's Gospel of Luke, that say, well, I'm not going to follow Jesus because they do eat and they do drink and they do sing. And we have to come to the realization that there are just those that we're never going to make happy, that just are choosing to be negative, choosing to have excuses for whatever they're doing in their life. I, for one, have met a lot of people who are like that, who are negative, but I've also met an awful lot that are positive. I had a good priest friend by the name of Father John Maxwell. He was pastor of a parish up in El Cerrito, California, Northern California, Oakland Diocese. And he was a wonderful, wonderful priest, wonderful man, and always positive, always looking at the brighter side. And I loved it whenever I was invited to do missions and retreats or any kind of ministry up there, because when I would preach at his church, it was like I was preaching to the United Nations. He was such a great pastor. His heart was so open and welcoming to everybody. And the church was filled with not just somebody from Africa, but people from all over Africa. It wasn't filled with an Asian family, but he had Asians from all Asian countries, or Hispanics, not just people who were maybe from Mexico, but he had people that were Spanish-speaking from all Spanish-speaking countries. Whenever I would preach there, I felt like I was preaching to the United Nations. And he was so positive all the time. And I remember walking into his church one time, and there was a fellow who was obviously a homeless person, was sleeping in the back pew. And I said, Father, do you know about? He said, oh yeah, that's Billy. We let him sleep there sometimes. So he is a man who loved people, cared about people. You want to be positive, you have to embrace love. In the first reading today, Paul's letter to the Corinthians, he tells the story of love is patient, love is kind, what love is. Corinthians 13, often you hear it at weddings. So if you want to be a positive person, you have to be a person who embraces love, because there is no way you can be negative or dour if you are embracing love. One of the interesting things about Father John Maxwell, one funny story I thought, I was at the parish there one time and I had finished preaching and I was waiting out in the front of the church out on the steps, and it's about 2 minutes before Mass is over and a car pulls up right out front. A young girl, probably teenager, gets out, goes into the church, comes right back out, and she has a bulletin in her hand. And I asked her, I said, "What, you just went in and got a bulletin?" She said, "Yeah, my parents are going to ask me if I went to church, and this is my proof." So it's her receipt for going to, she didn't go to church, she just went in church to grab the bulletin, but she had her proof. But the whole time I knew Father John, he was dying from incurable cancer. And yet, you'd never know it. His attitude was so positive. You would know it if you went into his room in the rectory, because his coffee table was his coffin that he had made. But other than that, you'd have no idea that he was close to dying. This man was a positive man who lived on love. Love for the world, love for the people in the world. He had a sister parish over in Haiti, and during a childbirth, a side of a mountain came down and killed the mother while giving birth, but the two babies survived. He adopted them. So here you have Father John Maxwell, as white, white hair, white beard, and he adopted these two as his grandkids, two black as black young Haitian children. And it was just beautiful. This is a man who exuded love. And when we exude love, when we embrace love, when we embrace what love really is, and love is God, God is love, then we can take our lives from one of excuses, why I won't do this, why I won't do that, and embrace the things that God puts in our life. Because everything that God puts in our life is put there out of love for us. So let's be people who don't make excuses, and let's be people who embrace God when he calls, and not just figure out ways to not be people who see everything as half empty rather than half full. Let's be people who realize that this Jesus who came into this earth did it to make us happy, to give us happiness, to give us the joy of being in heaven forever. So let us dig down deep and choose to be positive, choose to be happy, choose love. Amen? This is Mark Price. Thanks for listening.